I'd like to thank Sodas and Scythe and Nancy Law for the invitation to speak here today and to learn from colleagues who have no doubt the same sorts of issues and problems that I face at Lingnan. I've been at Lingnan for quite a brief period of time. I'm still in my honeymoon period, I'm sure, but there's a great deal to do over the next 12 months. I'd like to sort of just talk a little bit about the... Is there a problem, Tony?
Kind of bright.
Okay, can you get some light, please? A little bit about the Lingnan context, because I think it is a slightly different institution from most of the others in Hong Kong. Issues around evidence, some observations that we've already made, and some evidence that we've gathered, and a few little closing remarks, and I'll stick to my 8 minutes, I promise. We're actually a liberal arts university, and like all universities, we have this incredible collection of what we describe as graduate attributes. And these attributes, they actually form and drive a lot of what we now do, particularly for the new curriculum in 2012. And they're really high-level things, and very, very difficult to convince people about how those high-level, very abstract concepts actually relate to what you do on a day-by-day basis in your courses and your programs. But we try to get through, so one of the things we're trying to do is to make some of these goals realistic and embed them in the programs. So a lot of what we do, in fact, runs back into program design. The policies at Lingnan at the moment are driven by an effort to gather evidence about the environment. Lingnan is a liberal arts university. It's the only one in Hong Kong, and it's one of the very, very few in the region. And therefore, it sort of likes to style itself as being different to other more research-intensive universities. One of the things that we're involved in doing at the moment is creating an e-learning strategy, because we actually don't have one. And I don't think we're an orphan in this particular regard, but clearly, if you're going to write these kinds of policy documents, they should be based on evidence. So we've done quite a bit of research on with both staff and with students. And I've been fortunate to have an opportunity to host some students from overseas to carry out a lot of this work. So we actually really are starting from quite a low baseline, developing workshop programs, and we're also working, of course, hand in hand with assessment. What we've discovered in our initial investigations is that the incredible complexity that faces us when we start to address these issues, everything from learning spaces to bandwidth. We have a particular process in Lingnan where we encourage at least 50%, rising to 80% of students to live on campus. And given the use of file sharing and other such activities and gaming, these are putting huge demands on our infrastructure at Lingnan. We are looking basically to use the appropriate tools to try and blend the learning environments. We have excellent wireless at Lingnan, full campus coverage, very good quality, and it's simply everywhere and free. One of the things that we've identified is that we really need to move away from email and more towards SMS to talk to our students, to communicate. The evidence we have suggests that the students simply don't read their email, whereas they do read their SMS, and so we're investigating a number of solutions there. And the other thing that's come up time and time again, particularly as the students work in their second language, is the issue of lecture capture. But that's just as much a political issue as a learning issue, and we're still working on that. We see lots of opportunities for the tools that exist out there now. Everything from Google Apps to social networking, Second Life. Lingnan this week has actually purchased a Second Life island, and we're setting it up currently primarily for, of all things, visual studies, business, and languages. So we're busy working on that at the moment. The other thing we've done is to try and help our students coming into the university. And one of the things we've done is, for instance, to try and use the technology to use all of these powerful tools that the students carry around And in fact, if you go to the TLC website, you'll be able to go and have a good virtual tour of our campus. And we see this as particularly useful because the students can then look at where the rooms are. They can actually see what the rooms are doing. And once they've looked there, in fact, all the discussion on the rooms and what's available in the rooms, the seating capacities, where they are, and the facilities are all available and linked directly to the website. What I find interesting is this particular innovation we've put in place is a one-click solution virtually, but if you go through our website, it's a bit of a challenge to find it sometimes. Losing this mouse. Okay, so we're looking at reducing student stress. We've also done some considerable work to see what students are actually doing. Like most students, they're really into a lot of Web 2 technologies in quite a big way. Social networking, voice over IP, IM, instant messaging. Very good way to look at communicating with students, and we will take steps to do that. It's just that the students are reading, but they're not reading the way we expect them to, or necessarily the way we want them to. But there's a very strong perception that technology is pretty useful stuff. And so we're going to use some of this information, and this is a sample size of the incoming students from last year, and about 780 students in the sample. And you can see that from all of those things there's a strong student presence in terms of they will accept the changes. I think there's more, and they will also accept a lot of the social networking tools like blogging. What I find interesting is we also poll the staff. We need to get the staff view on this particular issue. And I think there are three key issues on why people don't engage with it. So one of the things we're looking at is, what do we do with WebCT, because it'll be gone in 18 months. And we have to think about that process quite seriously. And I think the three there, the two of them are time-consuming and lack of specific knowledge. And that's a problem for the TLC, and we'll deal with that. But it's interesting to find out what actual other tools they're using. And one of the big tools that they're using is YouTube. So what the TLC does, pretty standard stuff for anybody who has such a centre. We do a lot of workshops and consulting. We support teaching development grants. We trial a lot of technologies. We're looking at Moodle and Mahara, video services, mobile learning, particularly in languages. And we're supporting OBA for the next 2 years quite intensively. We also carry a lot of the institutional quality issues, such things as course evaluations, evaluation of core curriculum courses, designing a new graduate exit survey, and we contribute as a group to various committees around the place on curriculum. And we also run a visiting scholar program. I think most people know this particular slide quite well. We're amongst friends. We think this issue of curriculum alignment is particularly important, and particularly important for outcomes-based approaches to teaching and learning, and equally capturing the evidence of those approaches. So we're running a lot of things at this time to address that. We see opportunities for a lot of the Web 2 technologies. It's not exactly so much resistance as a slightly ajar door in our environment, where people are willing to look at these things, particularly for collaboration and particularly for social networking and communication. We're doing a lot of work in e-portfolios in languages, both Putonghua and in English, and that seems to be going along quite well. That's my contact details, and I hope I saved the time. Thank you.